I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My normal spiel, if you have a cell phone, please either mute it or turn it off. Thank you. Approval of treasurer warrants. Payroll warrants for February 8th and February 15th.
I move that we accept approve the payroll warrants for February 8, 2019 and February 15, 2019.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. Accounts payable warrants for February 12th and February 19th.
I move that we accept the accounts payable warrants for February 12, 2019 and February 19, 2019.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. Approval of the minutes for February 5th, 2019.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I just spelled John O'Donnell. I wrote John O'Donnell on the minutes. I wasn't even consistent, but sometimes he's O'Connell and sometimes he's O'Donnell. But anyway, I have corrected those.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any corrections?
I just have a question. When I had asked at that meeting if there were changes to our packets, the ones that get emailed to us in advance, if we can be told in advance, and that comment got put in under public comments, and is that the place where that would go? Because it was asking as a select board member. I don't think Kathy emails packets to everybody in town. She doesn't email them to us, and that's how I prepare for the meetings.
Well, I think she emails them all to the Board of Selectmen, and there are people in the public that get them at the same time. It goes out.
So I'm just wondering if my comment should have been public comment, or if there had been I didn't look at the thing, but I just don't remember saying it under public comment. I feel like it was.
It should be moved up into approval of the minutes, I think, because it was a statement made at that time.
Yeah.
I do agree with you on that one.
Under what category?
It's under public comment.
Yeah.
I think it should be moved up to approve of the minutes prior to approving the minutes, because Kim had mentioned that. Anything else?
Move the minutes as amended.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Thank you. We have no special presentations or awards. Committee appointments. We have Richard Forrest for Shellfish Committee, David Sutter, Board of Appeals, Margot Rafter-Soul for Waterfront Committee.
Move the appointments as presented.
Second.
All those
Thanks.
Pardon?
With thanks to these people.
Yes, very much. All those in favor? We have no public hearing. We are now at the public comment section of our meeting. At each regular selectmen meeting, there will be time devoted to any resident or taxpayer of the town of Wiscasset to address the selectmen regarding any item that is not on the agenda for that meeting. Do we have any public comments? Yes.
Actually, just a correction to the minutes. It was in the minutes, it was stated that the pier fees would be part of the agenda for the next meeting. You had put it in there.
Yes, I did,
And
and
it's not in the old business section of this
it is,
meeting.
you are very correct. That was going to be talked about when we got to that point. We have not gotten the information, all the information back to be able to present it, and it will be done in our first March meeting.
Very good.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, moving right along. Department head or committee chair. Town clerk Linda Perry, lifetime certificate achievement.
Well, I'm delighted that she has achieved this qualification. It's always good to have the qualified people that can answer all these questions, which the answers to which seem to change every 6 months, every 12 months. So it's very important to keep up and put her in the top tier of municipal clerks, and I'm delighted. Congratulate her.
Yes, Congratulations to Linda. Job well done. Thank you. Department head monthly reports. Yes, Kim?
I just wanted to take a moment to thank Richard Gath, is that how you say his name?
I pronounce it Gaith, he
Gaith.
has argued.
Wastewater, because I know he started at the very end of January, and he wrote a really comprehensive and complete report, so that was nice to see.
Yeah, he's working on it.
Anyone else have any comments? Yes, Bob?
The rec department appears to be way under on revenue. That to date for the fiscal year, they've taken in 207,000, and we budgeted 450.
I think the way that it was explained last year when we mentioned this again, a lot of their revenue is going to come in when it comes to summer camp. When people start paying for summer camp, that's when they're going to get most of their revenue. So I looked at it too, I saw it, but I really wasn't that worried.
Okay.
I think as we get closer to the summertime, then we might have an issue. But as of right now, I don't feel it's an issue. Anyone else?
I did speak to Lisa, I haven't gone through her budget with her yet, but one of the questions I had was about the revenues. So she and I will discuss them in detail within a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Let you know what's come up with.
Well, I just don't want a surprise at the end of the year.
Yeah,
Fully understand. Fully understand.
definitely.
I think though the report refers to like this, at this point in time this year compared to this point in time last year, and we are trending a little behind. You're right.
No, actually, all I was looking at was the revenue to date, which is 207,000, and I know that we budgeted for them to take in 450.
Yeah.
Well, if it was divided up evenly month by month, they should have taken in well over half of that, because we've now completed more than half of the fiscal year. I mean, I saw that it was down from last year, but that's not really what I was concerned about. I was just afraid that if they don't take in $450,000 this fiscal year and they spend the budgeted amount, then whatever they're short, we're going to be short.
Correct.
And I thought best to mention it now rather than wait till sometime in June.
Okay.
I'm good.
You're good now?
Yep.
Unfinished business, 4th of July committee.
We put together a flyer that we've circulated among the department heads. I don't know if it's online anywhere yet, but that's been distributed to all the department heads. It's on the bulletin board, it's beside the counter there. So maybe bit by bit, we can get more people involved. And the sooner we start, the better. And that's as far as I've got with it now.
It's a good start.
That's a good start. I'd like to ask the newspapers if you could just kind of like put something in there that about when we're looking for volunteers. That would be great. Thank you.
Happy to get your service.
Thank you. Comprehensive plan. Megan McCullough.
There are two parts to that. The comprehensive plan process itself is something I'm familiar with, having chaired 2 of them in a row. Well, when I say row, 10 years apart. It's terribly time consuming. The first one I did in Booth Bay Harbor, we had a whole bunch of volunteers, and within 18 months I lost pretty much all of them because it's a slow process. We tried to do everything ourselves. Next time round, we still had our committee, but we retained Bob Fawns and Mary Ellen Burns from Lincoln County Planning Commission, and that worked better. They did the work. I think they consumed more trees than we did in the previous one, as they printed out umpteen pages of different versions. But Mary Ellen put together a summary, which I think you made. Did you see this last meeting?
I think so. Yes, we did. The proposed 20,000.
The key thing is 1 or 2 people to serve as co-chairs, as I understand, Selectman Anderson,
Yes.
that is willing to do that. And the more people you involve, the all where to start finding people. Any committees, people that are interested in certain aspects of it, that's important. But to begin with, what's known as the visioning process, to figure out what it is you want to happen with the town of Wiscasset, which areas you want to pay more attention to, which areas are doing fine by themselves, or if there's a direction that you've seen someplace else that you think might fit with Wiscasset, well, hear that too. And first step on dealing with that is there are recent comprehensive plans just completed. Booth Bay Hardwick just completed them. Westport just completed theirs. I mean, these are adjoining towns. And the other would be look back to your own most recent comprehensive plan and see what's there. A lot of the stuff actually is very similar, 10 years, 20 years. Some of these things are hard to address. And so it's easy just put them on the list for the next time. And those are the first steps. Get an organizational meeting together, start talking about who has what kind of a vision for the town. I mean, it is the Shire town. It used to be a thriving maritime port, great river. There's a lot of potential. Has some great houses. Love those houses up on High Street. Absolutely. So, anyway, that's my 2 cents worth on the comprehensive plan.
Okay. And I'd like to thank him for volunteering to chair the comprehensive plan committee. Thank you very much.
Just don't tell my husband, don't tell Mr. Anderson.
Don't put that as a basis.
He doesn't look at you.
If I may.
Yes,
Yeah.
go ahead.
And Megan McLaughlin was the new hire at the county planning commission, and I asked her if she could find some figures for different food stands in different seaside locations. She's waiting for a response. She said she'd get something to me next week, which means I'll have it available for whenever the next selectmen's meeting, and talking about other revenues and charges on the waterfront. I'll put something together for the next meeting, whenever that is.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, under new business, abatement application for Don Morris at 698 Back Road.
Okay, I can deal with that. This actually was a carryover from a decision, a rejection was voted on January the 8th of this year. And so I called Ms. Morris and I said, what are we missing? Because it showed up again. And primarily, she had a request that she be informed of the reason the application was turned down. And I said, oh, I can take care of that, and certainly I will respond formally. And I think that takes care of that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, request for snowmobile registration monies for Wiscasset snowgoers.
Okay. This is not a huge amount of money. It's $873.84. It comes from the registration fees for snowmobiles. It is revenue to the town. It is not tied to the snowmobiles, but historically, and you gentlemen particularly, and Kathy will know, historically it's been given to the Wiscasset snowgoers. And looking at it from my perspective, I see no reason not to continue that, but that's a board decision.
Kathy?
I'd like to make a motion that we do give it to the snow goers as we have in the past. They do a great job.
Mhm.
I live out in the boonies and they like to, snowmobile out that way. But with this money, it helps them send their people out to talk with landowners, et cetera, and I think it's a goodwill thing that we should do.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor? Thank you.
You said it was 88?
873.84.
Question.
Isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
If this is something that we do every year, I would recommend that we have it as a warrant article so that we don't have to bring it to the board each year. That's the only reason it's before you, because it was not on our warrant articles. So without a warrant article to disperse the money, I didn't have the authorization to just give it to them, just because that's the way we've always done it.
It always used to be a warrant article.
So it should go back on the warrant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Monthly financials, department year-to-date expense, and HM Payson.
Yeah, you have a new package, right?
I don't, I think everything looks pretty good. Nobody's really overrunning.
No, it's the usual places. I mean, it's winter, so the more
Right.
storms, the more sanding and plowing. That's probably the biggest but expected thing.
Okay.
And on the basin, it's recovered pretty much at the end of January to where it was at the
Right.
at the end of November.
I can see we're going forward instead of backward, which is good. Okay, we will continue. Proposal to holiday lighting. Michelle Peel, Chairman of Proposed Christmas Tree Group.
Hi. First of all, I want to preface this by saying this did not necessarily come from me. But I'm the type of person, when I hear people meeting and talking and complaining, my whole thing is, if you're going to complain, what are you going to do about it? Don't just complain. So, of course, when you say that, then they just kind of tap me and say, okay, you handle it. So, I'm representing both the chamber-sponsored Wiscasset Marketplace organization and the newly formed Friends of Wiscasset group. And upon conclusion of the holidays, there seemed to be a recurring theme that arose where holidays in Wiscasset was concerned. There was an overall dissatisfaction in the holiday lighting plan and the execution. There were comments that ranged from dissatisfaction of the color of the lights and the lack of congruity to a critical dissatisfaction by the public as to the weak lighting design of the hardwood trees. So representing these two volunteer groups, we would like to make an offer to the Select Board and to the Town Public Works Department. Being cognizant of union rules, the volunteers' offer is as follows. In October, after the mowing season ends and the ground is still soft enough, we would like to put in 20 green stakes about 4 feet high into the ground, evenly spaced from the county courthouse down the commons to the post office area, and then 5 more into the downtown area. Not really knowing what the downtown area is going to look like with light posts and evenly spaced and all that stuff, we're kind of leaving that open. Then we'll come up the other side of the street the same way with these posts. The area in the newly finished downtown area will hold 5 trees on the north and 5 on the south, utilizing hopefully the utility poles, but again, we don't know. The volunteer group will secure, through donation efforts, 30 evergreen trees 5 to 6 feet high by the end of November. The volunteer group is asking the Select Board to vote to agree to purchasing 90 100-foot mini light strings of white incandescent lights from one wholesale supplier, everything being uniform. Each tree will be covered with 3 strings of lights. These strings will be connectable via female and male connections. The advice from the wholesalers is that these trees would look well covered with 3 strings per tree. The total amount requested will be approximately $650, not to exceed $700, and I can advise somebody of the wholesaler, or I can buy them through my wholesaler, whatever. And the volunteer group and the other volunteers will then provide the labor to actually dress the trees out by December 1st. The Public Works employees would use the lights from the previous years that were on these trees this year to add to the big tree on the green and make that coverage very full, but our volunteer group is not volunteering to climb any ladders or be up doing any big trees. The Public Works employees will be responsible for running all extension cords and providing electrical access to these trees to be lighted by December 1. The Public Works employees would undress the trees. These light strings can be stored each year, being wrapped around the green stakes that will already be provided by the volunteers for subsequent years and stored in an easily accessible location for use for years to follow. These groups are very interested in the beautification of the town of Wiscasset. Coming under scrutiny, the Public Works employees must be defended as they have no professional lighting design background. Many towns hire lighting professionals to handle their holiday lighting. This is a good faith offer to bring community members together to assist in this project, as well as to take ownership in the beautification of this town. Wiscasset has a great deal of exposure with the Booth Bay Festival of Lights and the Coastal Botanic Gardens, Gardens Aglow. And with the increased traffic passing through or stopping in Wiscasset, this is a community development project. Thanks from me. And you don't need to vote on it now. You can talk about it. I don't look for an answer right now. I won't do anything until the summertime. But I will do something, fairly early, because if you don't get stakes in the ground, you can't get stakes in the ground.
I have a question about the trees.
Yeah.
It sounds like they are removed.
Yeah. At the end of this season, it says here on number 8, the Public Works employees will undress the trees.
So every year you're going to buy new trees? Are they fake
Every year
trees?
we would get them donated. Yeah. That's until you guys have more money in your budget in which you can buy the trees. I don't know, but, right now this is the only thing that I can guide anyone to do, because I think I can find 3 Christmas tree sellers to give me 10 each. For the town.
Well,
But I think, in defense of the Public Works people, I think they did the best they can do. That's not their job. That might be in their job description, but that's not what, if I was living in town, a taxpayer would want them to be doing, is concentrating on those kind of beautification projects, because they have many other things to do in the Christmas season, especially if snow comes early. So I think that this is a great suggestion from these 2 groups who want it to be beautiful as you come in the town, and want, can afford, 2 different things. So
That's right.
You kind of do what you can do, and
different things.
everybody throws together and you come up with something. But I think if we get the trees, the town would own the lights, and that's why the trees would be undressed each year. Now we could, for a couple $100, you could buy, artificial trees and put them all the way down the street, but I don't think that we need to do that. It's too expensive.
No.
Yeah. So,
Does
anyway.
anybody else on the board have any questions?
Well, just, if I could.
Yeah, please.
The idea would be to have the stakes already in the ground and then tie the tree to the stake? Zip tie them to the stake so that they stand up straight, because you can't really put the trees in the ground. We could put a nail in the bottom of the tree and help stabilize the base, but we can zip tie them. And we would do all that. My husband and I would probably throw a pizza party, borrow this room, and the volunteers would all come together and go out and do it. It's part of the community.
Anybody else have any questions? Yes, Kim?
Are incandescent lights the old-fashioned ones?
Yes.
So we've been replacing the incandescent lights season after season with LED lights. Why would we toss our LED lights to go back in time for incandescent?
You wouldn't toss your LED lights, you'd put them on the big tree, but the reason being is that I might be the spokesperson, but this isn't necessarily coming directly from me, so just remember that. Incandescent lights have a more yellow glow, a soft, warm color white, where LED lights are a white, bright white. And even if you get a soft white LED, it's still not really soft.
But are we saving tons of money?
No.
We are, I know we
Yes.
are, because one year when I first moved here from Manhattan, I was like, I'm gonna do a tree just like the ones in the city, and I wrapped it with incandescent lights, and was shocked at the power bill. So it's very expensive.
For mini lights, let me get you that. Let me get you that, Kim. I'll get
No,
you
no,
the
no,
outlay
it's
for
all
3
right.
strings of 100 mini
No,
lights.
no, not the cost of the
per
lights, the electricity.
string. No,
It's
I'll get you
expensive.
the draw on that versus the LED. The reason why you would use LED wouldn't necessarily be the electrical bill. It would be the length of time that the actual strings of lights last. That's why you would use LED lights. But if LED lights are not treated really well, you know, and it's hard when if they're not wrapped perfectly well, I think you're still gonna run into a lot of loss each year. But I can get you the electrical outlay, but I think you'd be surprised.
Steve, what did we use this year downtown? What, was it LED or?
Combination.
Yeah, we tried to get as many of the LEDs as we could in this year. And there are two, and like Michelle said, there are two different types of this LED. There's the warm white, which is more the yellow, it's an LED, and there's the cool white. So that was kind of a bone of contention with people. But we spend a lot of money on lights every year. Every year, and a lot of those lights, they basically, you can take the lights off the trees, and Bobby may even remember this, and we store them, and they're working when we take them down. You plug them in the next year, they're not working. So the amount that we throw away is huge. I mean, it really is. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it.
Because if I remember correctly, there was a problem when you put up the lights. You had to go back and take some down because they were mixed, was it?
Yes. Yeah.
We had to mix, there was a mix of them, okay.
And because you're using mini lights, what happens over the winter is the connections with the heat and the cold, depending on where they're stored, the connections get loose. And if in a lot of these strings, if one light is out, the whole string is out. So you have to be really careful about what you buy. And you know, I'm not saying that we can do it better. I'm saying this is an opportunity to have people proud of the town that they live in, not expecting our town workers to take that kind of time. I don't even know if they're marked, or I'd be willing this summer to go through them if they're marked warm and cool, and which work and which don't, and try to do it that way and save a little bit of money. But I don't know, you know. I mean, this is all volunteer.
I just want to say, I would assume that this would be something that we really would have to talk about and decide on during the budget process. But I think Kim brings up a good point. I think a lot of the reason for using the LEDs is to save power, and I would be interested in a comparative of the incandescent or the the power usage for each kind. And Steve, I remember that well, and I'll just share a little thought there that the beautification committee used to go and take those lights, and my wife was on that beautification committee, and she'd bring home a 55-gallon drum full of them lights and go through them and unplug a bulb and plug another one in, and they would be all ready, all tested, carefully laid away, and then next year half of them wouldn't work. It's just the nature of them.
So
Excuse me, yes, Al?
I sell them both. The LEDs use about 10% the energy of the other ones. There's a huge difference in the energy consumption, LED versus the others.
Then I just have a general question about how we create town committees, and if there is an ordinance about town committees. We have a beautification of the town committee, as far as I know. And we are looking for volunteers now to help us organize our 4th of July celebrations. So I don't know if somehow this could be done with an existing committee, and then isn't it typically the job of the committee to vote for a chairperson? And I'm just curious, do you have to be a resident of town to serve on a committee in the town?
Yep.
Yes, you do. But I mean, I said, this is.
I mean, I'm just
Did you move back to Wiscasset?
Yeah, I'll move back to Wiscasset so I can serve on that committee. But
No, I mean, did you?
no.
Okay.
And I am part of the Wiscasset Market Fest because they didn't limit it. It's the chamber area chamber. So that includes Alna. And so I'm allowed to be part of that. And I'm allowed to be part of the Friends of Wiscasset. And so they need a spokesperson. They need somebody to step up and say what they feel about the beautification. So what you should do, since you're kind of handling the maybe 4th of July thing,
No.
absolutely not. You should utilize both of those groups and contact the heads of both of those groups.
Yeah, I
And
think this is
maybe-
something that we are gonna have to discuss.
Yeah, but I just want to make you aware of it.
Okay.
I mean, because there's a lot of gibberish about it.
Thank you. And one thing I want to say is that our town looks beautiful every year at holiday time. And this year it also looked beautiful. To me, the 2 tones of white were like the winter sky right before sunset after a snowstorm, and you have those yellows and blues in the sky. And I think Steve did an excellent job. And they may not have been as uniform as in other years, but we also had several November snowfalls. And so that's why this year was a difference. I've never heard anybody grumble about their lights in years past. So I just want to commend you, Steve, for the work that you do. And
2 years people kind of in that.
Steve, did you want to say something?
Yeah. The question that I have, or the comment that I have is, I don't even know how we meter the electrical what we use for power for these lights. And I've asked this question, I said, where is this electric charge? What account is it going to? And I'm curious. You figure you've got lights that start here, they go all the way down to Main Street. The only place that there is a meter is down by where, and I'll call it the China Diner, which is down by where the old phone booths used to be down on Main Street. That's the only meter. Now, I think that the charge is from that meter. I don't know how we have metered this and paid this out. I don't know if it's something, I really don't know if the CMP give us to us, because we run from the pole, we run up to their high lines, but I cannot figure out where this power is metered at, so I don't know how much we spend.
There is a budgeted line item, and there is a,
Where is it?
I'll have to get it and show it to you, but we did
Please
see
do.
a bill
I'll
this
be here in the
thing,
morning.
Christmas tree lighting.
Okay, but this will be something that we can discuss at another time. Thank you, Michelle.
you're welcome.
Okay. Town office fire station flooring replacement.
I haven't looked at it. The letter you've got there is from the asbestos remediation people. I don't know the magnitude of whatever the problem, about you?
Yes, that's John.
Okay.
Hi.
John Aaron, Wiscasset. I kind of initiated this on January 12th, I think. I sent an email or a text with some photos of the radio room over at the fire station. I kind of gone through the doorway and a couple of the tiles came up. And looking at the vintage of the building, 1967, that was back when the mastic that holds the tile down to the concrete has got a concentration of asbestos. So I contacted one of my vendors through the school department. I've got a lot of experience with remediating asbestos floor tile and that kind of thing. She came down, and by the 23rd we had a report that was positive to the asbestos, the mastic underneath the tiles that had broken. And she also did some surface sampling of some grayish substances coming up through between the tiles over there. That was positive as well. So at the same time, we decided Doug decided that we might come over here to the administrative side of the building and take a look at what you folks have over here. And some of the floor tile over here has crystalline asbestos in it. But looking around, the tile's in good condition. The fire department side, which I don't recall being replaced before, it must have, it can't be 50 years old, 60 years old. But the tiles are coming up, and it's creating quite an angst with the membership over there. And I've got concerns with Mr. Christensen over there trying to keep the floors clean, and if he's sweeping and some of the surface testing was positive, then, you know, I'm concerned about exposure to folks. I would be glad to come down tomorrow or whenever you think you might be able to take a minute to look at it. If it was a school, I would completely close the area off. I fall under a different auspices than the municipal does. I've got a hazard assessment plan that I have to follow through the state. But the meeting room and the parts of the hallway and the radio room are in really poor condition. And I would hope that maybe we could at least get some of those floors abated. Even if we waited to replace the tile, just get the hazard out of the building and then do a flooring replacement later. But my concern is that the floors are in really poor condition. There's meetings other than the firemen in the meeting room. There's folks over there getting their taxes done today. I mean, the floors are atrocious. And it's a tripping hazard. So there's all kinds of issues over there. And I kind of took the initiative to kind of get it started because it has been a while. Initially, looking at the seams in the floors, I thought it may be old wax coming up through with the tiles wearing. But I had RJ Enterprises test it. While she was here, she took a knife and pushed it into a baggie, and it was positive. So
These seams in here too?
we didn't do any surface testing over here. We did. Was there what area was tested?
We did it right outside of John's office.
Okay.
Remember we lifted up the rug there.
Okay, yeah.
Carpet, and she took a sample of the mastic from there.
Okay.
And that was another
That
positive.
was positive, yeah. Matter of fact, I think it was a higher concentration. It was like 5%. But anyway, there's a little bit of anxiety from the younger guys over there that really don't know what to expect, and of course you hear people talking about asbestos. It's a long-term thing, and you know they're putting their turnout gear on the floor when they're not using it, and they're taking it home. So there's a lot of concern, and I would be more than willing to work with Mr. O'Connell and Mr. Christensen and see this process through. I'd be very willing to do that.
Yes, Bob?
Thank you, John, for
Yep.
helping to deal with this, but I think it's something that we should deal with immediately. I do think that this is a big enough job, so it probably should go to bid. And that would be my comment on it, but I do think that we should provide for dealing with this as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'd be happy to meet up with you tomorrow. I have somebody coming at 10 o'clock beyond, which won't be more than 45 minutes out.
No.
Apart from that, I'm good.
Okay. I can drop down about 10:30, or you want to do earlier than 10?
Do first thing or 11?
Okay, I'll stop down shortly after 8.
I think it will take a while.
What are we, excuse me, what are we talking the building? You know?
Well, first off, it sounds like the fire department particularly is all falling apart. And if it could be encapsulated, whatever you want to call it, that'd be a start. And then I agree with big enough job. When I say one bid, I never believe one bid. We have 3 bids for carpets or flooring, so we should at least get a second one on this. And I'd just like to see it myself.
Yep.
Okay.
You've got an estimate here of 8,000.
Yes.
Fire department.
That's
Yeah.
the fire department.
Yeah.
And that's what we're focusing on at the moment.
Yeah.
And that's just to remove the existing.
That's just to remove the tile.
And then a new floor would be additional.
The flooring would be additional, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so you will meet with John tomorrow?
Yes, I will.
And you too?
Steve, and you?
Steve?
Judy, do we have a town-appointed health and safety officer? Is that typically the EMS chief, or who is that?
I don't know. I always thought it was a code enforcement officer. That was my,
Usually you get a friendly doctor.
Somebody thought
So
it
we
was,
Don't think we have one.
Dr. Reed, that was the old.
I can't answer that, I don't know John.
Okay. All right,
The last I knew, it was Arthur Boucher. Unless-
That was a long time.
He's a long way from whoever didn't get it.
Yeah, that's a long time ago. So I think somebody, yes,
Somebody
Bernice.
had said they thought it was the doctor that oversees our EMS.
It would make sense.
Because I know that that has been brought up before, they wondered if he was our health officer.
You could check on
Somebody
that.
had read that it was.
I wonder if he's the same guy that does the cardiopulmonary for the fire department.
Not sure.
Okay,
We'll have John check on that and find
Thank
out
you.
who it is.
thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
Okay. So you'll bring that back to us?
Yep.
All right, thank you. I hate to say we have a resignation of Ray Soul from the planning board dated February 11, 2019. It says, "To the Board of Selectmen, please accept my resignation as a member of the Wiscasset Planning Board effective February 20th, 2019. It has been an interesting 23 years." Ray
It's the
Soul.
understatement of the year.
I do understand he's gonna stay on as harbor master.
Sounds smart.
We can make a motion to accept this with very much great regret, but understand he probably wants a life.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Thank you. Quick claim deeds. We have several of them here. I'll make a motion to accept the quitclaim deeds of Robert Greenleaf and Carrie Pry, map 07, lot 039-17. David and Marcia Brown, map U01, lot 083. Heidi Wall, R03, lot 051-A1. Sherry and Lawrence Eckert Jr., map R07, lot 005. And Mike Pinkham, map R04-010-A19.
Move the quit claim deed as presented.
All those in favor?
Second.
Thank you. Town managers report.
Yeah, I've got a number of items, not all of them are listed, I'm sorry, because they came in. So the first one is the FEMA disaster funds. I figured this was income. You might like to get a little specifics about the incomes for a change. And this is from the 2017 storm, and it's clean up and brush tree removal, emergency services, cemetery repairs. So in total, as you can see, 63,671.88 were submitted as expenses. FEMA picked up 75% of it. The state picks up 15% of it. And to date, we have received the full FEMA share, which is 47,753.91, and the rest will be coming in due course. And we'll also get, in that green one, it says an additional 3,183.59 will be received from FEMA Direct. It's administrative cost. There was some confusion of who's going to pay it and so on and so forth. And so many people got confused that FEMA said we'll pay it. And so tomorrow I'm meeting the FEMA person at 10 o'clock, coming down to update us on what we need to do going forward. So that's my FEMA report. And as I said, nice to see some training.
Yes, thank you.
Next thing, the board is aware that I've a long scheduled vacation. I'll be out from February the 28th, which is a Thursday, through March 7th, which is another Thursday, which means you've got a regularly scheduled meeting, which I would not be able to attend. However, if the board wishes to pick an alternative Tuesday, like maybe next Tuesday, I'd be happy to.
Can we make it March 12th?
Or
delay
whichever
it?
way suits you.
A later week to March 12th?
Yeah.
Is that the day that the school board meets?
I have no idea.
I feel like those are good meetings.
I really don't want to have one next week.
What if there's second? We're first and third, and there's second. I mean, I guess we could do it that day if we could do it. I guess we could just do it that day, I don't have to go to that meeting, but I feel like when I attend the school board meetings, I learn a lot. It's half
Well,
our
I
town's
just
money.
don't want to have, I don't want a meeting next Tuesday.
Right.
So, to me, we could do our March meetings, March 12th and the 19th. Have two in a row, is that okay?
That's fine.
March 12th and 19th?
Okay.
Plus that gives him time when he gets back to do the agenda.
There's nothing to
I was
that.
told, I was told that you did.
Well, I do, but you're help.
Okay. Police union negotiation appointments. As you know, we've got 3 bargaining units with contracts that expire on June 30th. I spoke to Matt Tarasevich about his availability because generally he's, as an attorney, he generally is part of our bargaining group. And he said the week after I get back would be a good time to make the introductory meetings with all 3 units.
Okay.
So now the question would be, which of the selectmen might like to be on which one?
I would volunteer for negotiating on the union contracts,
Which one?
all of them.
Oh, really?
I've done them all since I've been a selectman, so why stop now?
So I can be,
How many do you need?
3's plenty. 3,
You have 3 already?
well, 1, the attorney, me if I have to. They don't like me.
If you need another select person, I'd be happy to do it.
Okay,
Let
well,
me know.
so we at least have 2, and I can send emails.
I've done it before.
Okay.
They didn't like me then.
I should probably do 1. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I should.
I think you're doing
Yeah. Whatever.
We've always had 2 selectmen, haven't we?
Oh, 2
Ed,
selectmen.
When we done them?
that.
We usually have 2.
What I remember was the 2 selectmen and the town manager.
Okay, no attorney.
Well, the attorney was random, I should
On
say,
the
or
stand.
as necessary.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
that's what I
Catherine.
remember.
Okay.
I've done it before.
All right. And I think the police union is the one that has made a presentation, so I would suggest that be the first one.
Okay. Be nice to get them cleared up before budget's made.
Yeah, exactly. So if I could move on to the next one, you've got your municipal budget calendar.
I didn't know.
I do. So that's how it currently stands. I hope to go through some of the department budgets before I leave. That's only a week away, but
Okay.
I'd like to knock a few of them off before I leave.
All right.
And next item on that is the wastewater treatment plant. Some upgrades are in progress. Richard he's got to get prices on 2 backup pumps. And I said, listen, I need to know the installation costs as well, because pumps sitting by themselves aren't much use. So he's getting those numbers. Found out from him today that the DEP are coming along, an inspector and a compliance person, as well as Lynn Martin, who helps on our paperwork and so on. All will be at the wastewater treatment plant tomorrow morning. My expectation is that they will do a preliminary examination of everything as I normally do, and they will say, here are your priorities, when can you do them, and if you hit those deadlines, you're not going to get into any difficulty. We've had some fines and some bumps and so on in the last while, so if we can just get everything settled down, I think that'll work. I'm expecting that to work out quite nicely. He's only been here 2 days longer than I have, So he's familiarizing himself with the, with the facility and what the priorities are. So I think he's making good progress.
Is that what this paper is about from the DEP? Is this about the wastewater treatment plant? This wasn't in the packet, but it was in my.
It popped out of the blue. It was rather than
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've got, that's my next thing on my notes. That just literally came out of the blue. I got a call from this man up at DEP one morning, and he said, well, you should consider coordinating, cooperating, whatever, with the water system. And I said, oh, and 20 minutes later, this letter came in on my computer, and oddly enough, this morning I got a call from Chris at the water system who said, you know, hello, welcome, and so on and so forth. And he said, I got one of those letters too. And I said, oh, I thought maybe you knew more about it than we did. And he said, no. So what you see is all that I have, and I haven't spoken to either the water system or the DEP specifically about this. It's, as I said, out of the blue.
Personally, I'm not interested in this.
A big bird, yeah.
I didn't think it's not on tonight's agenda.
No, it's just something that I
I
thought you should see. I don't think there's any time, I don't think there's any time frame on
So these
this.
aren't the people that you're meeting with tomorrow morning at the wastewater treatment plant?
I don't believe so,
But that's just someone else from DEP?
but Rick knows, he knows, I gave him this letter to read, so and Lynn Martin is very astute. She'll pick it apart, I'm sure. So, but that's all I have for now, but I thought the board should know, just in case you hear.
But this came from the DEP, it did not come from the town.
Not from the town, or the water system.
I think the DEP should take care of the DEP.
All right. That's how that came. I thought the board should see it as soon as possible.
Thank you.
We now have the certificate of authority for HM Payson.
Yes. Okay, we have this, to execute new certificate of authority for transactions with HM Payson that has to be signed by the board.
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, we need to do it again.
I'll move you to authorize the certification of offer for the transactions with HM Payson for this year.
No, seconded.
All those in favor? 5-0.
Is this, is it the one?
Those have to go that direction.
Okay. So where, do you have, that says copy of it, isn't there?
Okay, I need the original.
Is there the original?
I just gave you.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything else?
Yeah, I've as you know, Doug Fowler, Director of Public Works, has left, and in the interim, Ted Snowden will be acting director. Today, I posted internally the position, which is what is normally done as a qualified person that's interested within the town that would get a preference. And since we've lost one person from the top and Ted has moving up as interim, we do need another driver. So we put an ad for a driver in the papers. It'll probably take some time, but it's still snowing, it will be snowing. And as you know, overtime is something that we have to manage. So that's where we are with Doug Fowler's resignation.
So Ted will be in charge of the town garage at this time.
I thought the board was going to look into whether or not they wanted to combine department heads.
That had been discussed. This is something that we really want to consider.
I think it's, well, first off, promise to hear. So between now and then,
this doesn't affect that.
No. No, it wouldn't affect that at this point, no. We have to have someone in interim at this point in time to be able to call the guys out when it storms
And run the crew.
and run the crew. And I think that's a discussion maybe we could set for March 12th as to where we want to go. If you want to hire someone to manage both the transfer station and the highway department, have one supervisor do both.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's still, the time frame is fine, so I think we'll work.
Okay.
Yes.
If you hire another truck driver and then, another road commissioner, there's gonna be an extra person.
Yeah, it takes so long to get anybody to apply that if we end up top heavy, we just don't hire the driver. That's all.
Okay, yeah, well,
Because there's such a lead time, and ideally, if we get an internal candidate that the board approves within a few weeks, then we would need that other person immediately. So I figured we better start the process.
no, I'm fine with
Put them in
that.
the pipeline.
It just seemed like if you hired someone and told them they were done a couple of weeks later, it'd be kind of a...
No, I fully understand. Okay, two more things. Sorry about this. These all came in recently. Doug Baston, who's selectman in Alna, has been working with the PUC about some funding that would come from CMP if that corridor for the hydro gets approved, which apparently it looks like it could happen. So CMP has promised rural broadband free if this thing goes through, but also there's some additional money that Alna has applied for, because Doug watches that pretty carefully, and he said that there's the possibility of Wiscasset joining up with Alna and getting some of this money. He said it could be used for economic development purposes, and the thing is, they would need to know back by Thursday. He did say that he would handle the paperwork on behalf of the two towns if the Wiscasset board chose to go along with it. So I don't really see a downside. I'm relying on Doug's expertise and experience. He knows this whole utility stuff left, right, and center. I mean, that's pretty talented fellow.
Yeah, Doug's been working on this for a long
He
time,
has.
because I talked to him at the county budget
You did.
meeting once about it. In fact, I mentioned it to Mary.
Okay. Anyway, if the board wishes me to call Doug again, I'd be happy to do it if the board just...
Do you know what it, like, I'm not clear on what it is except,
Money.
like, right, I heard that part. But from where, like, what strings are attached to this money? How long are the strings for? Is it a grant that we're gonna have to promise to cut down someone's trees someday in order to not pay back?
No.
I would like to know more about it.
Um,
I mean, I also know Doug and trust him very much, but what are we doing?
It seems like relatively straightforward. Like you say, I don't think there are too many strings attached. I don't think there's a lot of paperwork. I do know that Doug has said he'd handle the paperwork. So
And it's
I
through
don't-
CMP?
No, the Public Utilities
It's
Commission.
a PUC, CMP is the conduit, because they're the people on the ground.
It's your Public Utilities Committee.
PUC doesn't, they
That will
don't,
give us money for,
we could use it for economic development as the primary thing.
why?
Why?
I mean, why do they want to give us this money?
Because they're putting the corridor through Wiscasset.
It's
for one
money they
one
would
thing.
find that they then have to put out.
Because you're going to lose some wetlands and some forested areas.
Right, so I would,
It's a-
and what else?
Right.
Yeah.
Several other things are possible, but I don't know specifically with Wiscasset. With Alna, they have several wetlands that are going to have to be temporarily filled in.
Oh, temporarily. Okay.
That's what CMP is saying. And also some forested land that is going to be taken in by eminent domain.
I just feel cautious whenever somebody says, oh, there's free money, just let me know by Thursday. Like, even if it is Doug Baston, who I love, and his wife was my kid's kindergarten teacher, like, I totally trust them, but
Hmm.
Just, if Doug went ahead with the paperwork, there's no obligation on our part, is there? I mean,
I didn't ask him that.
it would seem that if it, we saw a downside to it, that we could simply opt out, once we had more information.
Okay. I'll ask him, and I'll also ask the question about, what's the downside, like wetlands, et cetera. Because this, when you bring that up, it sounds like mitigation, it's like at the ironworks, where they wanted that extra dock, and they flooded the old meadow from below. I knew that way. Anyway.
So then if you're gonna go back to Doug and talk to him and get more information, how will you get back with us for us to make a decision before Thursday?
Let's see, phone calls.
You have to make a phone call.
Can't
All
do
it,
that.
all he needs is a consensus of the board.
You can't do that.
We could even vote on
You can't do that. It's gotta be a vote in a public hearing.
Well, I mean, I think Bob's right, it doesn't hurt to apply. If we decide we want to opt out later, we opt out.
Well, that's right. I mean, if we don't accept the money, I don't see how we would have any obligation. And if you ask Doug that question, he probably can answer it. But just, usually there's no obligation if you don't take the money.
Can we make some sort of,
Why can't you have a motion
and
that
if
to
then,
allow John to inquire about this and give him the authority to make a decision?
Absolutely.
it. Yes, exactly, that's what I was gonna say.
And I'll be skeptical. Just in case.
And I'll make that a motion.
Seconded.
All right, I'll call him in the morning.
All those in favor? Thank you.
I'll get something out to you all, if there's any doubt in my mind. I'll put the dates on.
Okay.
And I'd say the nice things to Doug, that everybody has said. Yeah, one last thing, small thing, I spoke to our auditor yesterday and asked about finishing up the town audit. And I said, would it help if I called the school's auditor? He said, sure, Mike. So I actually got a call back from the school's auditor, and he said, all done by next Thursday. Because he said everything. I said, oh, and that's my question.
By next Thursday, we should have a school audit too. That's what he's saying, okay.
Not the school audit, and then I don't know what the town auditor might have to do if he doesn't like some of these things fit. But basically, the school audit will be finished as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Those are the headlines. Thank you for being so patient.
Anytime. Yes, Ed.
On the subject earlier with relative to Alma, the word mitigation was used, and I'm not sure what the whole situation is or what the details are, but I remember very distinctly a situation with CMP and some mitigation in Wiscasset. And they were affecting the environment in some other part of Maine. And for mitigation, committed some land in Wiscasset to conservation, which took it off the tax rolls.
Okay.
And the end result was our tax rate went up because CMP made some mitigation for damage to the environment someplace else. So I just say, please be cautious.
I will, and I brought up the term mitigation because it's kind of looks like that.
Okay.
To me.
I just say cautious.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bernice?
Are we setting any dates for the budget workshop or no?
Well,
Are we not doing that?
well, I'm hoping to start with the departments. Actually,
Well, we're pretty
tomorrow,
much
Thursday.
stretched until after March 12th, right? Because you're
Yeah.
not going to be here.
I'll try and get some of them done before I leave,
Okay. All right.
but I have to look at the calendar.
Are we going to make them part of a separate meeting, like a workshop to deal with the budgets?
Well, my understanding is that the department had to bring their budget to the town manager, who works with them to end up with a figure that seems pretty reasonable, should be acceptable, and then presents that to, if I understand correctly, the budget committee and select board at the same time. That sound right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So that's what I would be trying, that's what I'd be trying to do.
Okay.
My first year going around with the two, I kind of came in the middle of it last year.
Yeah. And of course, we don't have our contracts set up, so we have to make, it's a catch-22. Do you want to put a certain number in, and then it's there for people to examine, or do you wait till later, which may delay the process to the point where it's uncomfortable? So we just have to move everything at the same time.
Right. Okay, so we can set something after March 12th.
Yeah. And in the meantime, I'll be doing my bit,
Okay.
as much as I can.
Okay. All right, we're progressing along. Okay, other board business. We need to have, I'm sorry, Bob.
Well, my apology, but
No.
did we take up the abatement application under new business?
Yes, John said that it came back about because she
I'm sorry, I probably was signing some of this stuff and I just missed it.
What if I may paraphrase, on January 9th at the Selectmen's meeting, you denied the abatement, and I understand it was because it was not submitted in a timely manner, is what I was told. And so, as I looked at the material, it appeared that she was expecting to be formally notified of that, the reason for that decision. So I spoke to her today and I said, what's left hanging here, what needs to be fixed, and apparently it was that. And I said I would send her a letter.
That wasn't why we denied the abatement, though, was it? Or
No,
was that
sorry.
part of it? I
Yes.
thought that we denied
It
the
was-
abatement because we don't have control over how sewage is billed. Like the sewage is billed, estimated sewage is billed on the amount of water used.
No, we did it because of the fact that she had paid her sewer bill, but not her water
No,
bill.
she paid her water bill, but not her sewer.
Well, whatever, she paid one of them. But the main thing was that she abated too late.
Yeah, there is a time limit on it.
Right, it was beyond the policy.
Yeah, that's what Kathy looked through, and that's what she found.
Well,
Yes, I did
that's
go-
not policy, that's law.
Right. I went back to the January 8th minutes. I looked it up myself, and that was our reasoning.
I remember Marion saying that,
Yes, because of the time.
but she should have been sent a letter.
She waited too long. Yes, I should have gone out to her as to why she was denied the abatement.
She'll get a nice one now.
Okay, we need to go in executive session to consider a poverty abatement application. So I will make a motion to go into executive session pursuant to the provision of Title 368412 MRSA to consider a claim for abatement for taxes for a reason of poverty. All those in favor? Thank you.
There be a vote at the end